Well, I'm pleased to be joined by Alan Arthur, President and CEO of Aeon, a nonprofit developer, owner, and manager of affordable housing in Twin Cities. Alan recently announced that he's transitioning out of his role after more than 3 decades as the organization's leader. And just by way of background, reading from your bio here a little bit, Aeon has successfully brought $100 million in new and innovative funding to create and save more than 3,000 affordable homes just in recent years. And today, the organization serves 15,000 people each year at more than 5,600 Aeon apartment homes. Um, and just going back under his leadership, Aeon opened the first housing in the country available for youth who are experiencing homelessness, developed the first multifamily affordable LEED Platinum certified property in the upper Midwest, and oversaw 8 historic preservation projects that are now on the National Register of Historic Places. Um, we won't talk about all the awards you won and so on. That could take up the whole 30 minutes, but it's quite an impressive resume. And so how are you feeling now? Let's talk about the transition process first of all. How how will that play out? And are you going to stay on for a while and in an advisory role, or how does that work?
Yeah, good question. I'm doing well. The hard part was to make the decision. Once I made the decision, once I really thought about what is the right time to pass the baton for a CEO, and we're in solid operational shape. We've got great leadership up and down the organization, and we're getting ready to launch really ambitious plans. I thought this seemed like a really good time to pass the baton. I'm not retiring. But it's just time to move on. And I'm going to stick around to help through the transition with the new CEO. The board is doing a national search. Has hired a search firm to help with that, and I'll help in whatever way the new CEO and the organization would like me to for the foreseeable future. I will be technically an advisor for a period of time, but not sure exactly what that role will be until the new CEO comes on.
Okay. Well, I was going to save this question for later, but since you brought it up, you said you're not retiring. So
Yeah.
what are your plans? What's next?
No, I don't have plans. My granddaughter pointed me to a Winnie the Pooh quote, which let's see, let me find it here. I want to make sure I quote it properly. Um, anyway, it goes something like this. I I figure out where I'm going to go by leaving where I have been. And so that's what I'm doing, and I'm looking forward to whatever comes next. And I'm open to a lot of options as long as they're going to make a difference in our community in some way.
Well, I have a feeling you'll continue to make a difference, and you won't just be playing golf or hanging out at the beach. And so, look forward to hearing what's next.
Yeah, I play golf religiously though, Brian, once a year, and pray I don't kill anybody.
It sounds about like me, although I haven't even played that often. So I gave up on that sport a long time ago. Um, can you just to back up a little bit? Can you talk, Alan, a little bit about how you got into this line of work and kind of
Yeah,
what sparked your interest in affordable housing?
yeah, good question. Some people plan their lives when they're in junior high, I think, and they work hard to get what they're looking for. I was a typical young man in the Midwest. I wanted to be a professional baseball player, of course, and that kind of thing. So I never really had a specific. My family wanted me to be an attorney. I realized really early in college that's not what I wanted to do. And but I did start working in the construction industry, and I worked my way through college as a carpenter. So that's how I started in this arena in general. And for a period of time, I and my buddy Fred owned a single-family home construction business. We'd build 1 or 2 houses at a time, small little company. Sometimes we'd build a small multifamily property or work on some commercial, but primarily 1 or 2 single-family homes. And they were affordable homes in rural Iowa, which is where I grew up. And we did that for a while. And then through a strange set of circumstances, I became the director of a building zoning and planning department in my hometown in southeastern Iowa, and did that for about 4 years. And my wife and I decided we wanted to move to the Twin Cities, and up here I did a variety of things, including some theater. I started a community theater in my hometown and did some theater, but I also tried to sell real estate when interest rates were 17% in the mid 80s.
Mm.
And I worked for a nonprofit making home improvement loans to poor families in South Minneapolis. And that was a great experience and great job to help people, fix their roof or replace their boiler when it was needed, and make really affordable loans to them or in grants sometimes, and make sure that they got good service from contractors in the community. So I did that for about 4 years, and then I came to Aeon when it was really, really small. So, and I've been able to grow with the organization. So it's been been a great journey. I'm very fortunate, and I've been in that arena. I'm a jack of all trades, a master of nothing. I've been in that arena since I was 19, so a long, long time.
Yeah, great. And we talked about just kind of from a very high level, some of the things that Aeon has done under your watch. What are there any specific projects that sort of stand out? Any memorable projects?
Well, staff asked me the other day to write down the stories I have for all of our projects, because there is a story. There's sometimes several stories about some of them, including having my life threatened when we're doing homeless housing in certain communities. But I think the thing that stands out and the thing I'm most proud of actually is a little more mundane. It's helping our board of directors establish really solid organizational governance and be disciplined and thorough in governing the organization, because that's really the foundation of a good organization. And it has been for us since 1993, when the board of directors and I worked together hard to adopt the system of governance that would make sense long term.
Okay, you mentioned having your life threatened. I can't just let that one slide by. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, well, sometimes people get pretty upset when you're trying to do something they think is negative for the community. And getting upset is actually a good sign fundamentally. That means they care about their neighborhood, they care about the community. And that's kind of the approach we've always taken. And so people say things sometimes that they don't really mean. Of course, you have to assess whether or not they really mean it or not. But our modus operandi has been to, when that kind of vitriol or excitement happens, to call up the next day and ask people out to coffee and talk about it.
Yeah.
And that generally has worked pretty good to establish relationships with people, and then do what you say you're going to do. And if you mess up somehow, admit it and fix it. I think that's been a pretty good policy for us in my 33 years here.
Yeah. Well, what would you say, what has been the biggest change from when you started 33 years ago to now?
33 years ago, there were only 4 or 5 organizations doing affordable housing in the state of Minnesota. Now there are probably 35 or 40, maybe more. And so the competition for the resources to do affordable housing is way, way greater than it was back 33 years ago. Many more for-profits have jumped into the fray and jumped into the affordability arena.
Yeah, you mentioned the double-digit interest rate environment too from back when.
Right. Yeah, certainly that's a big change. I remember clearly that when people said interest rates will never, ever fall below 10% again. Well, they've been below 10% now for quite a long time. I keep waiting for them to go back up to 10%, but it may not happen in my lifetime now, because they've been low for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, even so, it's no secret out there, there is an affordable housing crisis. I hear people call it a crisis all the time. Simply put, there aren't enough homes out there, especially not enough affordable homes. And just to throw out a stat here from we recently wrote about a report from the Minnesota Housing Partnership that talked about the need for 105,000 additional housing units are needed for renters at or below 30% of area median income. And just between 2000 and 2019, according to this report, the median gross rent for housing statewide increased by 14%, while the median renter income decreased by 1%. I'm sure I could go on and on with other statistics, and you could probably rattle them off off the top of your head. But what do you make of that? What are the most effective tools out there to put a dent into those numbers?
Yeah. So first of all, the one of the largest negative impacts and contributors to homelessness has been the backing away of the federal government from the Section 8 program. The Section 8 program serves a wide range uh, of incomes, including folks with the very, very lowest incomes. And yet the government, federal government, the administration under Reagan started killing Section 8 back in the 1980s. And no administration, frankly, has really added significantly to Section 8 since then. So we're now trying to provide affordable housing with the same level of, of Section 8 vouchers, the most valuable and impactful program for affordable housing, with the same amount of subsidy, housing rent subsidies that we had in 1985. And we've grown from a country of 240 million people to a country of 325 million people. So if you want to know the most direct impact, it's that. The second most direct impact is the fact that we're not paying people enough to live. Um, I laugh ruefully about the fact that now folks are saying maybe we should finally raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. Well, that's a 8 to 10 year effort. Now the number is $22 per hour. It's no longer $15 an hour. It's really pathetic. 17 last numbers I saw from Deed showed that 17% of wage earners in the state of Minnesota make minimum wage, not $15 an hour, minimum wage. And 36 or 37% make less than $15 an hour. And half the jobs we create annually pay compensation that would qualify the households for affordable housing. So really it's an economic problem fundamentally. And we either have to put the capital out to create more affordable housing, or pay people more money to live. One of the two, or some combination of both. But unless we want homelessness to double or triple even. So that's where we're headed.
Yeah, and the CEO of Amazon can only buy so many homes himself, right? But if he
That's
starts
right.
paying his employees more of a living wage, we're talking about a lot of people and a lot of homes that are suddenly
Yeah.
more affordable to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And the crazy thing about it from an economic standpoint, and I'm not an economics expert, of course, but um, every dime we pay minimum wage or low wage earners, they will spend in the economy. It will boost the economy. And so the reason our economy is strong right now is we're paying them to be unemployed, and the economy is hanging in there because they have money to spend. If we insist they go back to work for $200 less than they're making on unemployment, we are going to actually hurt the economy. So we've got some things to figure out, and we better figure them out soon.
Yeah, I think student loan debt relief is another thing that people are talking about out there.
Sure.
My oldest daughter happens to be well, she's a biology major. I was a journalism major, so she's a lot smarter than I am, right? But she was fortunate enough to get enough uh, scholarships and grants and so on. She'll be okay. But other people are graduating with lots and lots of student loan debt. That's no secret.
Yep.
This money could go towards, instead of paying the bank for that student loan, how about putting it towards a mortgage or a down payment on a home?
Right.
I think
Right.
that's a big issue out there too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. We basically just have to get the economy to a place that it's equitable, reasonably equitable. It doesn't have to be perfectly fair or perfect. It's just got to be reasonably equitable, and we've gone a long ways from that. When the top 16 richest people in the country own 60% of the assets of the country, private assets of the country, there's something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big problem, and we'll see what happens there. But so just to go back a little bit on some of the projects you've worked on, is there ever been a project that was particularly challenging that you thought, wow, I'm not going to get this done, but then somehow you made it work. You pulled it off. Anything that comes to mind?
Well, East Village was the first major mixed income, mixed use project of its kind in the Twin Cities. And we did it. A little nonprofit did East Village. And we got really close to having all of our money together when interest rates started to climb and construction pricing started to climb at the same time. So we were within about $1 million of making it. I'm trying to think about how many millions of dollars that was. It was in the 20 millions of dollars, $25 million project. We were within $1 million of having the resources to get it going. But we once solved that $1 million problem, we were another $1 million behind. It'd take us 3 or 4 months to figure out how to get another $1 million. By that time, construction prices had raised even more and interest rates had raised, lowering our mortgage, available mortgage, and therefore we were another $1 million behind. That happened 3 times over the course of about 9 or 12 months. Hmm. So it was in doubt. So ultimately, we met with all the funders, lenders, private, government, et cetera, and got them all in a room. And we asked a simple question. You must like this project. You've already committed your money to it. Is that correct? Yes. Well, it'll never be cheaper than it is today. So if you can all work together to figure out how we make that $1 million in the next couple of weeks, we can close this thing and provide home for 180 people. And they did. To their credit, they did figure that out. And we were extremely pleased and grateful for the fact that they did, and so our 180 residents of our community. So.
Well, that's great. And what are some of your current projects that you're working on? Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, we're just started construction not too long ago on 70 units in Edina. We're working with Edina. It's been a great relationship with the city of Edina, both their city council and their staff, as well as private citizens who really supported us in that project. We're also almost finished with finishing up on construction on 172 apartments in Bloomington. We purchased a NOAA property, a 306-unit NOAA property in Bloomington, 1 block from Mall of America, and it had 13.5 acres, and we thought we can put some more units on that site. And so we are doing a 4% tax credit deal, and those units will start opening up for people to live in sometime in the fall, and half of them will open up in the early to mid fall, and the rest of them a couple months or so later. And that we're working on that, and you may have seen that we're working on a project in collaboration with St. Olaf Catholic Church in downtown Minneapolis, and that's going to be a several hundred apartment property, 3 different buildings on one site, 2 different sites around the church, and also help the church with the plaza and their layout and what they're doing. It'll improve, I think, the use of the church as well and parking. So we're very, very excited about that. Now, I may not be around for the finish of it, but I'm certainly here still for the start of it, and we're working hard to make that happen.
Okay. And I think I mentioned in the press release announcing your transition that you will be remaining through the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's the logical time, sometime in later year. Usually a executive search is 2 to 6 months, and so I'm going to be hanging around for a little while here.
Okay. Well, do you have any other plans? I see you've got your Twins hat on. Have you made it to any games this year or any?
I have made it to a couple games. I'm actually going to the Twins game tonight, so looking forward to the 95-degree heat. And we're in the shade tonight, so that'll be good.
Well, I hope they can beat the Yankees for a change. And
they've been pathetic. Brian.
Well, and I'm going to head out to the Saints game with my son on Friday. We'll see if Buxton is still rehabbing with the team then, but that'll be a lot of fun. He's playing baseball. He's in Little League this year, and pretty good little contact hitter. So
good, very good.
We're having fun with that.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, any other thoughts before I let you go? You've certainly done great work over the years, and it's been a pleasure just talking to you on the phone. About your projects and things like that.
Thanks, Brian. I think there's one thing that I always want to mention, and it never gets into articles hardly because it doesn't seem sexy and it's not about me. But leadership isn't about the person at the top only. I happen to be the chief lip flapper and handshaker, and I have some skills on that front. but we've had such tremendous other leaders in the organization, which is why we've been so successful, ranging from Cecile Bador in our early years, who was the longest tenured PED director in St. Paul ever. Barbara Olivato, who's considered the mother of affordable housing in the state of Minnesota, was one of our first board members. Gina Saganic, who now leads a national organization working on healthy materials in affordable housing. And the leaders we have now, Santiago de Angulo, who runs our property operations, and Sarah Harris, who's been a leader in the community for many, many years. She's on our strategy, partnership, and production side. So I've been blessed. I'm sure I have brought some things to the table, of course, but I have been blessed to be surrounded by really smart, talented other staff, leadership, and board members. And I just really always emphasize that.
Well, great. Well, thanks again for joining me on the podcast, and good luck with the talent search. Good luck with the transition process, and best wishes in your next
Thanks.
endeavors.
Maybe I'll do something crazy and we'll talk again, Brian.
Sounds good. Take care, Alan.